Welcome to episode 30 of the Ask the Law Firm Seller Show. My name is Jeremy Poock, and I lead Senior Attorney Match. In today's Ask Show, we'll have two segments. We'll have our Q&A segment where we'll address three questions today, and we'll also have our Poock's Post segment. And just as a heads up for our Poock's Post today, that will be why senior attorneys will continue originating less new clients as we head towards 2030. So let's jump into our Q&A. What's our first question today? Well, our first question today is, why does a random Tuesday event cause the value of a law firm to significantly decrease? So when we think of and advise our clients about mistakes to avoid when it comes to selling a law firm, the fifth of five mistakes is hoping that tomorrow will continue like today. And this is really a difficult mistake to avoid. What this means is that we're often seeing our clients say to us that, well, if today is like yesterday and we think that tomorrow is going to be like today, then why change? And here the mistake to avoid is two random Tuesday events. The first example of a random Tuesday event is the unexpected departure of a key attorney or support staff person at your firm. And the second random Tuesday example is the premature death or incapacity of the senior attorney law firm owner of the firm. So let's first look at that first example of a random Tuesday event. And that example is when, and let's focus on a key attorney at your firm, key employee attorney at your firm, often been with your firm for multiple years, and on a random Tuesday, walks down the hall and literally gives the owner only 2 or 4 weeks notice that he or she is leaving the firm to join another firm, move out of state, is leaving the practice. That type of random Tuesday event, the impact on a firm is both in the short term and the long term. Short term, senior attorney, owner of a firm has all of a sudden lost a key biller for the firm, right? Like, what is it that key employee lawyers do primarily at law firms? Is they generate revenues. In hourly fee firms, they're billing 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 billable hours. In flat fee and contingency fee firms, they're also generating tremendous amounts of work and revenues for the firm. And on 2 or 4 weeks' notice, they are leaving the practice. We really look at that like a sucker punch, or really that's how our clients look at that when their key employee lawyers leave short-term wise. Longer term wise, it has negative effects because key employee lawyer could leave the firm with clients. They're allowed to do that. As we know, restrictive covenants are not permitted with regard to lawyers, except in California, but the 49 other states, the lawyers can leave with clients without restrictive covenants on them. And also, the longer term negative impact is that when looking to sell the practice, purchasing firms, what is it that they want and need? They need lawyers and key staff people to continue to do the work. And if a key employee lawyer leaves with the deficit of those billable hours to offer to a growing law firm and potentially without key clients of the firm, that random Tuesday event can just so negatively impact the value of a firm in both the short term and in the long term. Now let's look at the second example of a random Tuesday event. That second example of a random Tuesday event is the premature incapacity or death of the senior attorney owner of the law firm. This, unfortunately, has a devastating impact on the value of the firm for two reasons. First is that often the senior attorney owner of the firm is the rainmaker for the firm, is the person who's attributable to that all important book of business. And when it comes to law firm sales, a very key component to the success of any law firm sales. In fact, we even make an analogy to the Back to the Future movie with the flux capacitor that made time travel for Doc and Marty happen in the Back to the Future movies. That flux capacitor in law firm sales is trust transfer. And if a senior attorney, rainmaker attorney, is not available to transfer the trust of his or her clients to a successor law firm, then the value of those clients is just not going to generate as much in terms of revenues as it could, because in what we call law firm sales 1.0, the revenues that are paid to a seller are dependent upon the clients continuing with the successor firm. And if a senior attorney seller is not available to transfer the trust of the clients, that trust transfer will not happen as often, and the compensation in consideration for the firm will be much less than expected. Even worse than that, because a senior attorney may not be available because of incapacity or death as a result of a Random Tuesday event, the sale may not even happen, because a purchasing firm is going to be reticent to acquire a senior attorney-led firm if the senior attorney is not available to provide that trust transfer, to transfer the trust of clients to the lawyers at their firm. So you may not even get to the sale. So even if a sale happens because of the inavailability of the senior attorney due to that Random Tuesday event, either the sale won't happen, or the consideration paid, unfortunately, as we see it, will be pennies on the dollar as a result of a Random Tuesday event. So let's look in terms of what it is that purchasing law firms, just to really drive home this point about why it's so important to do our best to avoid a Random Tuesday event, with regard to key employees potentially leaving and the incapacity or premature death of a senior attorney. Growing firms, which are the typical purchasers of senior attorney-led firms, they want and need three resources to boost their growth. They want and need new clients. So if senior attorney is not available to transfer the trust of those clients, there's not a guarantee that those clients will transfer. Growing law firms, as a result, much less interested in a firm where the founding attorney is not available to transfer the trust of the clients. Second, growing law firms want and need an experienced workforce. They want and need your key employee lawyers, your key staff people. If key employee lawyers, and here we will discuss paralegals as well, if paralegals aren't available to continue to represent the clients of the senior attorney-led firm, growing law firms less interested to purchase those types of firms. And then lastly is that growing law firms are looking for digital content. They want and need the subject matter knowledge that senior attorneys and their key employee lawyers have developed. If either or both of them are not available to offer to growing law firms, it just makes the deals less appealing. So when senior attorneys are considering that, okay, today is like yesterday and tomorrow will look like today, please know a Random Tuesday event could change everything in terms of the value of your firm. And as a result, if your key employee lawyers in particular, right, we can't predict health for the most part. We can very well, though, predict whether key employee lawyers, whether they want to purchase your practice. If they don't want to purchase your practice, at some point they will look for a new job, because what they really want is a reliable, predictable, and safe job. If they don't feel that their job is reliable, predictable, and safe anymore, because senior attorney-led firm is not going to provide job stability for years to come, those are the tea leaves to read in terms of seeing and being able to predict that a Random Tuesday event regarding a key employee lawyer could happen, and those devastating impact in the short term and long term that premature departure of a key employee lawyer will have on the value of your firm. Okay, so for our second question today. Our second question today is, when is the right time to sell a senior attorney-led firm? Okay, so we're gonna approach this question from two parts. There is the subjective personal reasons for when is the right time to sell a law firm, and then there are economic reasons. They can blend with each other. We are often finding in the marketplace that the personal subjective reasons can really be the driving motivators, and we'll talk about both. So from that personal subjective reason, what we're seeing is when is the right time to sell is when you have any or all even of the following thoughts, which is first is maybe next year is the year that you finally want to slow down, semi-retire, fully retire. Second thought is when will your internal successors offer to purchase your practice? And really, they're just realize that your would-be internal successors are really key employee lawyers that don't want to purchase your practice. There's typically a realization that happens at some point with many senior attorneys. Some do have internal successors that do want to purchase. What we find by and large is that internal successors are key employees. They want a reliable, predictable, and safe job. Third thought is that you just wish you could finally take a 2-week vacation. And the fourth thought is twice a month and once a month, which is that you're just sick and tired of having to twice a month pay payroll and once a month pay rent. In terms of the options, when it comes to selling a law firm, there are 3 options for senior attorneys to consider. First, and we call this the preferred option, is join, sell, merge with a growing law firm. Second, the potential option is to structure an internal succession plan with key employee lawyers, associates, junior partners, or partners. And then the third, which is not per se a sale option, but effectively it is to maintain your status quo. Because when you're maintaining the status quo, what we're finding often is that the value of your practice, unfortunately, will go down over time. In terms of the consideration, what will you be paid when you're considering to sell your law firm? What we're seeing often with senior attorney-led firms is what we call law firm sales 1.0. And law firm sales 1.0, the primary, what we call value chips of what senior attorneys are selling are their client list and their referral source list. Taken together, that is your book of business. A purchasing firm, and here we're going to focus on growing law firms. Okay, a growing law firm, what will they pay in consideration for that book of business is often earnout terms. That is consideration payable as follows: a percentage of the collections derived from the book of business payable over a negotiated number of years. When it comes to who wants to purchase that firm, as we said before, it is typically a growing law firm that wants and needs what senior attorney-led firms have. They want and need that all-important book of business, which they're prepared to pay on those earn-out terms. Sometimes there's upfront money paid as well, but often it's what we described before, law firm sales 1.0, in terms of a percentage of revenues derived from the defined book of business payable over a negotiated number of years. Growing law firms also want and need your experienced workforce, your key employee lawyers, and your key para staff that they want and need to hire to continue representing your clients and their clients. And then thirdly, now that we are in what we call the 3.0 digital era for the legal industry, growing law firms want and need the subject matter knowledge that you and the other lawyers at your firm have developed over the course of your careers and convert that subject matter knowledge into digital content to attract the attention of today's and tomorrow's clients who look online for lawyers and law firms to hire. Importantly, as we're considering the question of when to sell your law firm, now we're going to focus on the economics, the financial incentive in terms of when is the right time to sell your law firm. We need to recognize here in the mid 2020s, and as we're heading towards 2030, that digital marketing disruption has arrived to the legal industry. It began in 2020, really beforehand, but certainly that digital pivot that our entire world experienced in 2020 has continued to mature globally. And we look at the legal industry in particular, what digital marketing disruption means is that clients more and more are reliably looking online for lawyers and law firms to hire as compared to pre-2020, really pre-Google, when clients would ask their brother, their mother, their father, their accountant, their financial planner, their gym buddy, and the list goes on and on. That is word of mouth, is how rainmaking happened pre-2020. And now as we're heading towards 2030, clients continue searching online for lawyers and law firms to hire, whether that's via Google, AI, social media outlets, of course, law firm websites as well, where clients are becoming more and more comfortable with knowing, liking, and trusting lawyers and law firms even before talking with them, and doing so online. What does that mean in terms of that all important book of business for senior attorney led firms, right? What is it that you're offering to growing law firms? You're offering that book of business. Well, if you are not generating as many new clients as you did during the word of mouth era, then your book of business is not going to replenish as well as it did during that word of mouth era. And as a result, your client list is not going to replenish as well as it used to. And your overall book of business is going to become less valuable. It's going to be worth less, but that does not mean that it is worthless. But in terms of when to sell your law firm, we'll show here and explain here a couple of indicators for how you know when is the right time to sell your law firm. If you are not investing and entering into and offering multi-channel digital marketing to attract the attention of clients that are looking online today, what we are seeing is that the revenues of senior attorney-led firms are going down. They're not going down dramatically, but they are going down year over year because your firm may not be generating as many new clients. And if you're not generating as many new clients, then your revenues will be going down. So your book of business continues to exist. It is valuable, but if your revenues year over year are not going up, and in fact are going down, that is a huge indicator to please consider selling your law firm. The next indicator for considering when to sell your senior attorney-led firm is really to go at 30,000 feet here, is to recognize that we are in what we call the age of the vanishing rainmaker. That is, if you're a rainmaker attorney and you are not handing out as many business cards as you used to, and we're just sort of picking on the business cards as that indicator for the rainmaker attorneys that used to hand out hundreds, thousands of business cards, during the course of a calendar year. Just as a question to you, when was the last time that you reordered a box of 500 new business cards? We're just not seeing it. Heck, I haven't ordered a box of new business cards in 2 years. I need to now, but it's taken me 2 years to get through that box, and it wasn't even 500 business cards. And by the way, I've shifted to a digital card, like many people have. But the overall point here is that in the age of the vanishing rainmaker, the law firms are becoming digital rainmakers in the mid 2020s, heading towards 2030. And if your firm is not transitioning to become a digital rainmaking firm during this age of the vanishing rainmaker, you're just not going to generate as many new clients as you did in yesteryear. And while you continue to have a book of business, while you continue to have key employee lawyers and valuable para staff that offer value to growing law firms, while you have treasure chests of subject matter knowledge that offers value to clients, offers value to a growing law firm, while you have those three resources, again, clients, a workforce, and subject matter knowledge to convert to digital content, and that is why you will remain valuable to a growing law firm. If your book of business, though, falls to a certain level where it is not replenishing to the extent that that client list is going to offer value to growing law firms, we are starting to see, and will continue to see, unfortunately, that there will be certain firms, senior attorney-led firms, that growing law firms will no longer have interest in. So, in summary, when it comes to when it is that you should consider selling your senior attorney led firm, there are those subjective reasons. You're just ready to sell. There's the financial reasons. If your revenues are going down year over year, if you're just not generating as many new clients as you did in yesteryear, then those are signs that you should seriously consider selling your law firm sooner than later. Okay, so for our next question is, when is the right time to sell a startup law firm? Okay, so we are in what we're calling the age of the startup law firms, right? That is that because of the 3.0 digital era that we are in the legal industry, we are observing and seeing the rise of startup law firms. So let's put a definition on what a startup law firm is, and what it is that they want to do. We're really saying that startup law firms involve 6 steps. Okay, the first step is that a startup law firm is introducing a product which consists of one or more practice areas that the firm is deliberately creating and going to be bringing to its marketplace, whether that is a community-based, state-based, regional, national, even international. Second step is develop a strategy, right? Like, how are we going to build these practice areas, and develop a strategy for growing it. Next is, how are we going to originate the clients? The fourth step is, how are we going to build a team to be offering our product, that is this practice area in the startup law firm. The fifth step, importantly, is how are we going to grow sales and profits. And then the sixth step is to achieve an exit or sale. Hence, that's why those are 6 steps, because we are deliberately, as a startup firm, coming in here thinking about an exit strategy. So when it comes to the question of when is the right time to sell a startup law firm, let's do a compare and contrast. Um, in non-startup law firms, which are typically, let's call them senior attorney-led firms, we're seeing law firm sales 1.0. In law firm sales 1.0, the feature of the sale is an earn-out price. That is, that you're selling a book of business that a purchaser does not know if the clients are going to continue on with the purchasing firm because of a rainmaker attorney or attorneys who developed the book of business. And as a result, a buyer is paying a percentage of revenues from that rainmaker developed book of business over a negotiated period of time. Now let's contrast that to law firm sales 2.0. In law firm sales 2.0, what we're seeing for the consideration is 2 parts. The first part is a fixed price, and the second part is an earnout. The fixed price is because of digital value and brand equity that that a law firm here, a startup law firm, is developing, and based upon the digital value and brand equity and the data analytics that's supporting how clients are coming into those firms, a purchasing firm and really a bank supporting that purchasing firm in terms of offering a fixed price will reliably know that clients come into this firm because of its digital rainmaking capabilities, as compared to relying upon one, two, or more rainmaker attorneys. There'll be that fixed price plus earn-out payment terms. We're also seeing, and we haven't even created yet, the infographics to support this, because it's just this new, is what we're calling law firm sales 2.5 and law firm sales 3.0. In both of those scenarios, there will no longer need to be earn-out payment terms, because the clients will be coming in primarily, if not all, via digital marketing and without any reliance or minimal reliance upon rainmaker attorneys. So now let's look at how it is that startup law firms, how are they developing their business today? And there's really 6 ways that startup law firms are developing business. And again, just to emphasize here, the lack of one of those 6 being rainmaker attorneys. Okay, so first is Google, right? Clients are looking online, they're looking for a lawyer and a law firm to hire. Startup law firms are investing in, we can call it like others call it, the Google tax, right? They want to be able to be found on Google. They are asking their clients to post 5-star Google reviews, which is providing them with social proof of how well they offer their product, that practice area that they offer. So, first and foremost, Google. Second, and it's becoming a close second almost as every day goes by, is AI authority, right? We are relying more and more on our AI thought partners and asking AI for advice about here's my fact scenario, who's the best attorney or law firm, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and so on. For who do you recommend as the lawyer or law firm to assist me? Next is social media. Once clients are finding law firms, they want again that social proof. They want to see if others know, like, and trust the lawyer or law firm that they're considering to hire. And they also want to be reviewing what are they posting? What's the law firm? What are the lawyers posting on Facebook, on LinkedIn? What types of videos are they putting on Instagram? Do they post on X Threads and TikTok? Then of course they're going to your website. They want to be reviewing your content. They want to see fresh content. They want to be watching videos. They want to be listening to podcasts. They want to be seeing the accolades that you have that the lawyers at that firm have achieved. And of course, getting back to the 5-star Google reviews, how many 5-star Google reviews are posted on those websites? And then, yes, there is some old school, okay, of in the when you are at your kid's soccer game or a charity event, and yes, you could very well meet an attorney at one of these events or hear about an attorney that you that or law firm that you want to hire. And the sixth way that startup law firms are developing business, and this one is apropos and important for senior attorneys in particular to be paying attention to, is via M&A. Startup law firms recognize that a way to grow is by purchasing senior attorney-led firms that offer clients an experienced workforce and subject matter knowledge to convert to digital content. So just to go back to those 6 steps for startup law firms, and when is the right time to sell a startup law firm? So here I'll share that the marketplace of buyers of startup law firms is only going to continue to expand. I recently attended a business of law conference, and the buzz there at that conference was MSOs. Managed services organizations, right? There are MSOs coming into the legal space just as they came into the healthcare space, just as they came into the dental space, and they're looking to come in without owning law firms per se, but helping to manage law firms. And startup law firms will be developing their product, their practice areas, their clients with an eye towards selling to, aligning with MSOs. And what's going to make those startup law firms valuable is when they can offer predictable, reliable results to a purchaser. So, what does that mean? It means that if you are generating cases predictably and reliably online, you have data analytics that are showing that your clients are finding you on Google, that they are going onto your website, filling in your contact form, sending you texts, calling directly into the firm. We have true analytics that are supporting how the clients and how the revenues are repeating at this business without needing to rely on 1, 2, 3 plus rainmaker attorneys. When those startup law firms offer those predictable and reliable analytics for how they bring in the clients and how they generate sales, revenues, and profits, then buying law firms, MSOs, even private equity, venture capital, family offices will be purchasing those startup law firms for significantly higher multiples than what earnouts offer in Law Firm Sales 1.0. And those startup law firms will be benefiting by Law Firm Sales 2.0 by the fixed payments at closing plus earnouts. And then as startup law firms become more mature, offer more reliable, predictable data, they will be heading towards Law Firm Sales 2.5 and 3.0, no earnout terms, fixed prices based upon that reliable, predictable data that will support higher multiples at a closing in consideration for the sale of a startup law firm. Okay, so for today's Pooks post, is why senior attorneys will continue originating less new clients as we head towards 2030. So there's really three reasons why we foresee that senior attorneys will generate less new clients as we head towards 2030. First and foremost is that digital disruption has arrived to the legal industry. It's really digital marketing disruption. And what that means is that clients today have a far more convenient pathway to find lawyers by searching for lawyers digitally. Just drop the microphone, right? We all are creatures of convenience. We've lived through the digital era in terms of the convenience of purchasing on Amazon rather than going to Sears, by ordering Ubers on our phones rather than wait around for a taxi or raise our arms, somewhere in Manhattan or some other major city to hope to hail a taxi. And of course, to watch anything on TV today by watching Netflix and other streaming options than driving down to a local Blockbuster. Well, the equivalent of that in the legal industry is that clients are going straight to their smartphones, to their laptops, to their tablets, and they're searching into Google and into their preferred AI platform, and they're asking best attorney near me for fill in the blank need. And then they're looking at websites, looking at social media, and bypassing yesteryear's rainmaker. And as a result, senior attorneys in particular who are not entering into and investing in multi-channel digital marketing for the most part, they are generating less new clients because of that digital marketing disruption. The second reason why senior attorneys are generating and will continue generating less new clients as we head towards 2030 is because we are now in the age of the vanishing rainmaker. And what that means is that unlike the pre-Google era, when rainmaker attorneys prevailed, okay, they were in the communities, they were in their communities, they were they were backslapping, shaking hands, and being in person to generate business. As we are now in the 3.0 digital era for the legal industry, the rainmaker of yesteryear is simply being bypassed as clients are looking for lawyers and law firms online. Hence, we are in this age of the vanishing rainmaker. And the third reason why senior attorneys will continue generating less new clients as we head towards 2030 is because this business development itself has shifted in the mid 2020s as we head towards 2030, and growing law firms recognize that. So what does that mean? It means that growing law firms today are generating business via Google, via AI, via social media, via websites that that invest in SEO and PPC and attract clients to their websites and have content that's appealing to clients to be hiring lawyers and law firms. Also, lawyers and law firms are publishing YouTube videos and podcasts and hosting webinars that prospective clients can watch and listen to and gain that all important know, like, and trust digitally, even without having to interact personally with clients. And of course, yes, old school does happen. Business cards get handed out. But because growing law firms recognize that generating new business today in the mid 2020s and heading towards 2030 requires a multi-channel digital marketing approach, senior attorneys that continue to focus on old school only, that is word of mouth, they will just continue to generate less new clients as we head towards 2030. And now let's look at that from a sales standpoint. When it comes to what it is that senior attorney led firms, what are you selling? Your most important asset, your most valuable asset is your book of business. And if your book of business is not regenerating at a pace similar to pre Google, similar to the word of mouth era, then your book of business is not going to replenish as well as it did during that word of mouth era. And if your book of business is not offering as many new clients as it did pre-Google during the word of mouth era, your firm is just going to become less valuable and worth less over time. That does not mean worthless, but if you're not generating new clients digitally, your book of business will be worth less to a potential purchaser. And now let's just look at what it is that a potential purchaser wants when it comes to purchasing a senior attorney-led firm. What we are seeing is that growing law firms, they're the ones that want to purchase, acquire senior attorney-led firms. And they want to do so because senior attorney-led firms offer three resources to boost their growth. First and foremost is clients. Senior attorney-led firms, they offer that all-important book of business. If your book of business is not replenishing as much as it did in yesteryear, though, you will not receive as much consideration for the value of your practice. The good news for senior attorney-led firms, though, is that if you're not generating as many new clients, you continue to have a book of business that presents value. That is so markedly different than someone that owned a taxi cab medallion and was replaced by Uber, or the owner of a Blockbuster franchise when Netflix replaced Blockbuster. And in addition, senior growing law firms, they want and need your experienced workforce. So it's not just your book of business that growing law firms want and need. They want and need your talented lawyers and parastaff as well. And very importantly, in today's 3.0 digital era, growing law firms want and need the subject matter knowledge that senior attorneys and additional attorneys at their firms offer, literally sitting on treasure chests of subject matter knowledge to convert to digital content that the growing law firm needs to consistently publish via multi-channels of digital marketing to attract the attention of would-be clients. Here's the but, though, is that as senior attorney-led firms will not generate as many new clients heading towards 2030 unless you seriously invest in multi-channel digital marketing. At some point, if your book of business does not offer enough value to a growing law firm, then unfortunately your firm could become like a taxi cab medallion and not offer the value to a growing firm, which could say, well, we generate clients digitally. We don't need to purchase a senior attorney-led firm. We are not seeing that yet in the marketplace. But if your firm is not replenishing its book of business as well as it did pre-Google, we highly recommend that now is the right time to sell your law firm. And that is episode 30 of the Ask the Law Firm Seller Show.